Hello, good morning, dear listeners. How are you all? I hope you all are doing well. Here I have come with another video for you all from Class 11's Compulsory English book, Question Answer series of Unit 22, one of the short stories with the title The Oval Portrait, written by Mr. Edgar Allan Poe. Let's begin. Understanding the text. Answer these questions. A. Where did the narrator and his servant make forcible entrance? Answer. The narrator and his servant made a forcible entrance in an abandoned chateau in the Apennines. B. Which special picture did the narrator notice in the room? The special picture the narrator noticed in the room was an oval-shaped portrait of a young girl painted in a Viennette style. C. Describe the portrait that the narrator saw in the room. Answer. The portrait the narrator admired in the room was of a young girl painted in Viennette style. The arms, the bosom, and the end parts of her shining hair melted or merged in the dark background, highlighting her lively smiling face. The frame was oval, richly gilded and filigreed in Moresque style. D. What is the relationship between the portrait painter and its subject? Answer. The painter who painted the oval portrait of a young girl was her husband. They were recently married at that time. Now the next part, reference to the context. A. What is the central theme of the story? Who is the woman depicted in the oval portrait? Answer. The central theme of the story is the life of a passionate artist and the relation between life and art. Being passionate and completely devoted to art can produce masterpieces of the world, but one's life and passion for art should be well balanced. Otherwise, it will harm those around us. The passion for art is so strong that it can destroy anything that comes on its way. A passionate artist is so obsessed with his art that he sees nothing in its place. The woman depicted in the oval portrait was the painter's newly married bride. She loved him so much and posed in front of him for long hours every day and for months as an obedient and submissive wife. But the painter regarded her merely as an object for his painting. He could never understand her feelings and her needs. As a result, due to tiredness and extreme weakness of the body, she collapses and dies on the spot. Thus, the painter's obsession for his art takes the life away from his dear wife. B. The oval portrait is a short horror story by Edgar Allan Poe involving the disturbing circumstances surrounding a portrait in a chateau. Elaborate. Answer. The Oval Portrait is a short horror story by Edgar Allan Poe. The story begins with the wounded narrator who, with his servant Pedro, tries to forcibly enter a temporarily and lately abandoned chateau in the Apennines. Although the chateau is abandoned, they find it in its grandeur, with its strange architecture richly decorated with tattered and amazing antique pieces, and its magnificent facade. He orders his servant Pedro to close the heavy shutters of the room since it is already night. It looks like a real haunted place. They are the only people breathing inside that huge chateau full of armorial trophies, innumerable spirited modern paintings in frames of rich gold arabesque. Although they were valuable and historic, they were in poor condition. Many pieces of art and architectural buildings were undiscovered because of their unscientific positions, and as a result, they were considered as worthless. Many paintings were hanging on the wall of a remote turret of the chateau. They were completely ignored as they were not properly visible to the visitors. Luckily, by chance, the narrator's eyes fall onto that special oval portrait which carries a strange, tragic story behind it. This makes the story very interesting and exciting. D. Discuss the story as a frame narrative, a story within a story. Answer. There is a special tragic story hidden within this story of an oval portrait which makes the whole story very interesting and thrilling. It is a tragic story of a passionate artist who wants to make a painting of his newly married beautiful young wife. He becomes so obsessed with his work that he doesn't realize that his frail wife is dying on the spot due to extreme tiredness and weakness. This is a kind of horror story which tries to show the relationship between art and life through the narrator's encounter with the oval portrait of a young woman in an abandoned chateau in the Apennines. The main story begins when the wounded narrator goes to stay in an abandoned chateau with his servant Pedro as they were struck in the middle of the night. They take shelter there. While Pedro falls asleep, the narrator remains awake. The story within the main story begins during this time of midnight when the narrator's eyes captures this beautiful oval portrait of a young girl. The young girl's face looks so full of life that he feels that she is alive and is looking at him and she wants to talk to him. The story becomes even more interesting when he finds a kind of personal diary on the pillow of the bed that he was sleeping on. He soon finds that this diary or the notebook belonged to the painter and he had written the whole story of the oval portrait in it. So, the discovery of the whole story of that oval portrait by the narrator makes this main story very interesting and exciting to the readers. E. The story is told in a descriptive style with plenty of imagery and symbolism. Which images and symbols do you find in the story? The story is told in a descriptive style with plenty of imagery and symbolism. I have written down those images and symbols described in this story. Number 1. The image of desolate chateau in the Apennines makes the story very horror-like. Number 2. The presence of only 2 people in the abandoned chateau creates a thrilling environment for the audience. Number 3. Remote turret of the building and dark rooms of the chateau. Number 4. Tapestry, armorial trophies, spirited modern paintings in frames of rich golden arabesque. Number 5. Heavy shutters of the room, light beams in that dark room. Number 6. Tongues of a tall candelabrum and lighting the candles standing on them at the middle of the night. Number 7. Wide fringed curtains of black velvet. Number 8. Flashing of the candles upon the canvas. Number 9. An oval-shaped portrait of a young girl painted in a Viennette style. Number 10. Oval frame richly gilded and filigreed in Moresque. All these beautiful images describes the whole setting of the story in such an interesting manner that it arouses the listener's curiosity and excitement of the story. And these are the examples of symbols, the use of symbols in this story. Number 1, the oval portrait is the symbol of mortality of love and immortality of art. The painter's wife, who was his precious love, died at the completion of her portrait, and his art, that is the beautiful portrait of his wife, came into life or existence and made his wife immortal in his artwork after her death. The writer used an oval portrait as a symbol of life and death at the same time. Number 2, picture frame is another symbol used in the story which depicts that the painter enclosed his wife's beauty and her freedom inside a closed frame. F. What does the expression "she was dead" mean? Answer. In this story, the painter expresses his wish to paint the portrait of his newly married young bride as she is extremely beautiful. The bride happily agrees to fulfill her husband's wish as she loves him dearly. As a loyal and submissive wife, she poses for her husband in that cold and dark room, sitting still on a wooden chair for hours and hours every day. The work goes on for months as the painter is busy transferring her wife's real beauty on the portrait. He wants a perfect work, so he becomes so obsessed and engrossed in his work that he doesn't realize that his wife is becoming very frail and tired day by day. At the end, when the portrait is complete, he shouts with joy, saying, "This is indeed life itself," which means that the oval portrait looks so perfect that his wife has come alive in that portrait. The painting looks so real and live. But so unfortunately, at the meantime, his wife collapses and dies on the spot. The painter holds his wife in his arms and shouts, "She was dead." Only here he realizes that his wife is actually no more in this world. He realized the truth only at this moment when it was too late. Now, reference beyond the text. A. Do you think there is life in art? Answer. Actually, there is no life in art. Students, the answer to these questions will be different from person to person because in these questions, they are asking for our personal viewpoints. These are creative questions. So just take hints and ideas from my answer. You can write your own answer and express your own viewpoints. My answer to this question would be, actually there is no life in art. Art is the expression of human creativity and imagination. It can be seen such as a painting or sculpture or an architectural building, or heard such as music, songs, or felt such as a picture, a movie, a dance performance. You can have an emotional effect after seeing it. We say a living being such as a human being, plant, animals, birds, and insects have life and death. In that way, art never has a life of its own nor death. A person's creativity, inspiration, and technical ability is seen and felt in an art. When a piece of art is highly appreciated and liked by the viewer, then we can say that there is life in art. A true and dedicated artist can create an art which looks so real and alive. With their long hours of hard effort and a complete dedication, they can feel life in their art. That is why everybody admires the masterpieces of the art. And that's why they are so rare and expensive and also very precious. B. As a thing of art, nothing could be more admirable than the painting itself. Explain. Painting is one of the most effective medium of self-expression, creativity, and artistic presentation. A picture directly communicates lots of things to the viewers. In this story also, when the narrator's eyes fall on the oval portrait for the first time, it was able to capture his attention completely. It made him so curious to know more about it. So painting can be a very admirable form of art if the painter has put in his 100% effort and dedication in it. See the last question. A more intense look at the painting reveals the illusion. Have you noticed any such painting? Answer. A more intense look at the painting reveals the illusion. Yes, I have felt the same. When we look into a painting deeply, especially into the eyes of a portrait, not in the landscapes. Like for example, I have seen Mona Lisa's posters of the real painting, but not the real ones. The original Mona Lisa's painting, which was painted by a great artist Leonardo da Vinci, is kept at Louvre Museum in Paris. I had heard from people that Mona Lisa's painting is so famous all around the world due to her mysterious smile and her elusive eyes. So I also wanted to explore this painting and discover its speciality. When I looked into her face, I felt there was something strange. From some angle, her eyes looked smiling, also her face, but just slightly. Again, from the other angle, she looks so serious and calm. Her eyes look so keen and lost. Her face shows a kind of awkwardness or some kind of inhibition. Maybe she was feeling the same when the painter, maybe a stranger to her, and that also a man was painting her on the canvas. It was highly conservative and male-dominated society at that time. Sometimes I wonder how could she stand and pose for so long for the painting. Some people say that her painting is famous for the exact proportions of her facial parts, such as her eyes, ears, nose, lips, etc. But on the whole, her painting is really very serenely beautiful, and her face and body posture looks very elusive to the beholder. This is the end, and this is all for today, and see you all in my next class. Bye bye and take care.